This week we had two events that were public. One was a Microsoft event, and then one was a Google event the next day. The Microsoft one, I'd say much more substantial because they are showing things that they're actually shipping and that are new and that are very different from what they've done in the past with Bing. And then we did get a little bit of stuff along the same lines with Google, with Bard. Let's start with Microsoft, though. New Bing experience, Chat GPT integration on the side that sort of helps you search with Bing. It's like a co-pilot, as they described it. It's a really interesting implementation of AI. We're kind of wondering how they would do this. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so they have two versions of it. There is one that's more of like a traditional search where you do a normal Bing search, not a Google search, and then a bunch of context appears on the side, and it sort of gives you your answer in a more natural language kind of way, as if you were asking ChatGPT. And then there's also just a chat interface, which is basically just ChatGPT.
Yeah, just talk.
So you can have the traditional, like, give me a bunch of links, but also if I'm just asking a question or asking for a recipe, or for some reason one of their implementations was asking for a travel itinerary, it will give you like all the things on the side, and then what's kind of cool is that it'll source like the top 3 links that it's sort of grabbing from, which is interesting because it's doing inference, but it's also giving you link information, which is good.
Yeah.
However, websites might start to have some trouble with SEO.
This is the fundamental thing. So the idea is we're at a pivotal point with AI because it's not just fun, interesting tools that happen to be AI powered. We know what AI is already, but now it's big companies taking these AI models and integrating them with consumer-facing products, like real products. And one of the first big pivotal versions of this is search. So Google search is very well known. Microsoft's Bing search is also very well known. And this is this opportunity to have AI help you search the internet, which is interesting because, and we'll talk probably a lot about this, but when you search the internet, fundamentally what you're doing is crawling the entire internet for whatever phrase you typed in and then getting a list of things. Sometimes it's some ads at the top and then a list, but you get a list of links and then you can dive in from there.
That's why I have 500 tabs open at a time.
I will not excuse that.
I don't think that's a good excuse.
I opened everything on the first page.
Yes.
So the idea of AI being integrated in search is instead of just giving you a list of links, it can actually crawl information from those pages and from all of these websites and give you a natural language answer to your question instead of you having to dive into the links. Sounds helpful, but when you're a publisher in those links, that suddenly becomes a really existential question, which is like, how will this impact us? How will this work? Does the economy completely change? Does the business model change? Lots of questions are unanswered about this. And I like mentioning that like Google's had this AI stuff for like a long time. Like when you ask Google Assistant, like what is the capital of Japan? And it just says at the top, Tokyo. And then it gives you the list of links like usual, but it just tells you the answer at the top so you don't have to dive into the links. And the more complex that question gets, the more dicey and potentially complicated that answer will get.
Yeah.
So if Google and Bing are going to promise you like a nice written response, there's a lot of questions about that response. How good can it be? Where is it pulling from? Is it accurate? So if I just ask like a math question, like what's 5 plus 7? It can tell me it's 12 and be pretty confident about it. But if I ask it, this is the example on stage at the Microsoft event, what are the 10 best TVs to buy? Now suddenly it has to decide how to serve the 10 best TVs. It's probably pulling from other websites who have made lists of the best TVs, and it's giving you its top 10 and sourcing you to it. But now I'm never going to that other website, right?
Yeah, I also don't know, was that specifically on stage, or Nilay had a really good Decoder episode with Satya?
That was on stage. It was on stage. 10 TVs.
Okay, because he brought that up, and I appreciate that he asked something like this, because as someone who's worked with The Verge so long, this feels like something that will directly affect them. And that 10 TV question, it couldn't hit closer to home for him. And he pretty much asked, like, how is The Verge going to get traffic sources and essentially like income from advertisers if you search for the 10 best TVs and ChatGPT just says, here's the 10 best TVs.
Yeah.
Satya would respond with, well, they're going to see that, want to learn more and go through the links of it. But are we all in agreement that like I think most people would probably see that and direct to go to Amazon?
I'm interested in how this plays out in the future, because if ChatGPT was able to like have embed, or not ChatGPT, but Bing search assistant.
Yeah, we'll call it ChatGPT.
Copilot, ChatGPT. If it was able to have like hyperlinks within its contextualized thing, then, because the thing is, people want to go down the path of least resistance, and the whole reason why companies or why publishers make so much money on SEO articles, the like best this articles, is because of that. What's it called when you click on a link?
Like affiliate links.
Affiliate links, right? And so people are going to want to take the path of least resistance to get to the product, right? And it's going to be weird if they just list the top 10 best TVs, but then you have to like separately copy the top one, go to Amazon, and I don't know. I think that the publisher like SEO model has been kind of broken since the beginning, and I think all the publishers would probably agree with that, because they've had to change the way that they write content. They've had to change the way that they like game search engines and do search engine optimization is literally the term, which seems like you're kind of trying to like game the system already.
It's a very gray area. I think anyway.
I think if they had a new model where whatever links ChatGPT showed on the side, the like top 3 or 4 links that got displayed that it said the context was coming from would get like a few cents or something. Yeah. I feel like that would be a cool model.
Interesting.
That's way less than affiliate link click though.
Yeah.
True.
And they didn't say anything. I can't imagine this pulling an affiliate link from a page and putting it in the chat thing. I don't think there's any chance. And that's also still, which is less, taking away from banner advertisers, and anything else on a website, and just traffic in general to try and sell those banner ads. Now, like your website could be getting 100 active or 1 million active users a month. I could see that getting cut in half very easily.
It has fundamentally, it has to go down. Like if you are and I say it's a gray area because there's like the how to watch the Super Bowl online article where it's like someone's going to Google that and you just want to be as close to the top as possible. And then there's just like straight gaming it. So there is like a whole list of things you can do. But it's like if the whole point of this AI help is to give you an answer instead of you sorting through links, then functionally less people will go to the links. Right. So there will have to be a hit there. But my other question is, I guess just in like user behavior, and I think this depends on, my theory is this depends mostly on how big of a financial decision you're making. But do people actually just take the answer from the top of search and then just leave? I think if it's just I think if it's just a fact question, like what's the fastest animal in the ocean? And at the top it says the top speed of a swordfish is 40 miles an hour. Okay, I left. I didn't click any links. But if you ask, give me a recipe for banana bread, maybe I just take the recipe it spits out and leave, or maybe I check a couple more, or maybe I'm looking for a little more involvement. There's like 3 or 4 interesting recipes to choose from or something. I think there was a question on stage which was like, give me an itinerary to a vacation in Europe. And it was like, okay, you will fly to Spain, you will see this museum, you will take a bus to this other city, your hotel.
Book all those things separately.
Yeah, and it's like, there's no way I go, okay, that's what I'll do, and then just leave. Like, you still need to dig into the links and stuff.
Yeah.
And I always just wondered that, like, when people see the top 10 TVs listed out by Bing and ChatGPT, do they just go, okay, I'll take the top one.
And then go to Best Buy and buy it.
And just pick the one that's in their price range, or do they research a little more? I don't
know what regular people do.
I agree. I don't, like,
I think it's like monkey at the keyboard, right? You have to assume they do the least amount of work possible.
Twitter literally had to implement something a few years ago where if you tried to retweet an article without clicking into it, it said, are you sure you want to retweet this? Because they know how many people are reading a headline and that's the gospel after that. So like, why wouldn't you just say, hey, ChatGPT, what are the top 10 best TVs? And like, it might go a little further. Like, give me one in around the closest to $300 and one that's got free shipping. Like, it'll narrow it down. Why would you ever go to a link after that?
I
also want to say a really strange, potentially existential problem and recursive problem is that the chat bot has to create context based on web pages, right? But if traffic stops going to those web pages and publishers become less likely to
sorry.
publish. Yeah, I mean, like, look,
No, you're
if
right.
like you stop getting traffic, you stop publishing content about that thing, then the chatbot's not going to work. It's a recursive problem. It's like these publishers are not going to publish free content if they don't get clicks on it.
Yeah, if the primary source of your traffic and the reason you publish things is because you get search volume and clicks from that, then your incentive goes away and you stop making the stuff.
Yeah.
So hopefully you have a different incentive, like you have subscribers or something. This is, I was picturing the YouTube version of this, which is like, we make YouTube videos. Let's say I go to YouTube and I say, what's the best smartphone Samsung makes right now?
Yeah.
And it just says Galaxy S23 Ultra at the top and like gives you a little summary. A lot of people won't watch the video, right? They probably wouldn't click in to watch our videos. So our incentive goes down at least.
Yeah, I think
Kind of crazy.
we have entertainment value. Like YouTube has entertainment value, so I think
That's
it's a little tougher. And not to say that there isn't entertainment value in text, there clearly is. But like, I think in a lot of those situations where you're trying to find something fast, but like the main thing I think of is Wirecutter. Why would Wirecutter ever exist?
God, you're right.
Like Wirecutter is basically just like
Yeah.
they survive on affiliate links.
Yeah.
We are a place that does a ton of testing just to tell you a list.
Yeah.
And now you are never going to go to my website ever again.
Yeah.
Like if ChatGPT or Bing, whatever, just says like, well, Wirecutter's favorite lawnmower is this, and you go buy
That's a great
that.
point.
Yeah. Wow.
This is all sitting on the back of the fact that the internet went a certain way where it was completely free and the ad market had to run the internet, because this is like the whole like Web3 like thing that they like to parrot, is that the internet could have gone the direction where previously you bought a newspaper for $1, you bought a magazine. And so to access content on any website, you'd have to pay microtransactions, right, to read an article. Like that's the same thing as buying a newspaper.
Paywalled.
And it's just because everything became free, which I think is fantastic, because like more power, more information to everybody is like better. But because of that, it has to be paid for somehow, and ads are paying for it. So now we're seeing this like potentially scary situation where
Upending the ad model.
and the ad model is what allows publishers to publish for free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you were still at Android Authority right now, seeing this coming out, would you be like a little worried?
Well, I guess if I was running the website, probably.
Okay, sure. Well, but even like you're at the website now, the person who's running
Yeah,
it is worried, and
that's
now
right.
that person has to pay you.
And I put a ton of work into like the reviews,
Exactly.
the written reviews. And if you just ask ChatGPT, like, how good is the 1+8?
Yeah. It has to pull from somewhere.
Yeah.
It's going to pull from what we put together.
Yeah. It pulls
Yeah.
from Android Authority, Android Central, and XDA developers, and then it just puts it on the side.
So I guess, does it really just come down to entertainment value? Like the difference between surviving in this new model and not surviving is there a reason to view your content other than just the headline list?
It's hard because I think that's a big part of it. Like I go to The Verge every single day. I read almost every single article that they put out, and a lot of it does have to do with like the way it's written and contextualized.
Yeah.
It would be worse if there was like a version of this Bing ChatGPT thing where you could just be like, oh, tell me about, I guess you could do this, like tell me about the new Asus monitor, and it just like pulls all of the written information.
Tell me about the new Asus monitor in the style of a David review.
Yeah.
Like something you didn't even review. It's like, here, I got you.
Yeah.
ChatGPT's got you.
I do think like loyalty and trustworthiness will still play a role here. So like maybe you're not a video entertainment value, but if you've been following someone who's reviewing stuff or just doing ranking lists, and you've used those lists before to like your benefit, like then you would probably stick with that than asking ChatGPT things in that sector. But how many sectors are there? How many, like if you maybe trust somebody for TV recommendations, when you're looking for a recipe, you might be like, oh, I don't really care so much. I'm going to let this do a recipe instead.
It definitely becomes the secondary, which is like most people, most of the time, will just ask the chatbot the question. And then secondary is some people will go, oh, let me dig through the links because there's a guy I like who I think made a list that I trust.
Yeah.
Trustworthiness also comes down to the biggest AI question, in my opinion, which is these chatbots don't know if what they're saying is a true statement or not.
Yeah, it's just reference.
It's referencing, it's compiling sentences or paragraphs based on what it's read, but it doesn't know if what it pulled from or what it's saying is real or not.
Yeah.
again, fairly inconsequential when it's give me a banana bread recipe.
Right.
Maybe even not that inconsequential if you just go show me the top 10 TVs, right? It'll pull from a bunch and it'll just say, here's the top 10 TVs. Maybe it's missing one of the better TVs. Oh, okay. Well, you'll probably still get a decent one. But there's no I put this in the Waveform Slack. Sometimes it'll just lie. So one of the funny things is in a literal Google like copy promoting. So Bard is like the newest version of what they're doing, powered by Lambda, which is like this conversation chat on top of search, same idea. And it's like somebody asked, what are some new discoveries from the James Webb Space Telescope? And Google's answer is it spotted a number of galaxies. It did a couple of these things. It sees deep into the universe. And the last bullet point is JWST took the very first pictures of a planet outside of our own solar system. No, it didn't. It just didn't. That's just not true.
Yeah.
But it probably pulled that combination of words from something and decided to spit that out.
Yeah.
So I guess you were kind of cringing at the banana butter recipe. It's some people.
Well, you were saying it's not consequential, but like, come on, man, that's a lot of time. Or like, what if you're allergic to something?
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. So you go, give me a recipe for this thing. By the way, I'm allergic to this and I'm vegetarian. And it gives you a recipe and you make it and somehow you don't realize that you put in the thing that you're allergic to. Like it could mess.
That sounds crazy, but it might be like a seasoning or something that like does have tree nuts in it or whatever, and it doesn't notice that. And now, I mean, you should do more research, but we can all agree here that people are not going to do that in a lot of scenarios.
Here's the thing: is like Microsoft throughout this entire event made so many like references. They were just over and over like, do your own research, just so you know. Like, you really should be doing your own research. Like, don't take everything for granted. They had like an AI ethics session after the event to like get people to understand. Like, and they said over and over and over again, we've been working at this very slowly since we started thinking about it in like 2017 about how do we do this without potentially just spreading misinformation like crazy. The kind of interesting thing is that like people generally still believe the first thing that they see on the internet. So it's not necessarily that different. It's just the fact that there's now these AI models that are known to hallucinate and create misinformation by accident. And then
that's a good word.
Yeah. And then people don't really understand.
It's another variable, which is like in the sense of misinformation, depending on what it is, one more variable could be catastrophic. I mean, like it's not good. It's not good to have one extra thing that could be starting to spread stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of terrifying, honestly.
Hey, thanks for watching this clip. A quick message for you now that you've made it to the end from the producers. We just wanted to say thanks for watching and for listening. And as we usually do, we'll toss it to the guys at the table hosting for the outro. They know it.
Waveform Podcast is produced by Adam Molina and Ellis Roven. We are on the Vox Podcast Network, and our intro-outro music is by Vane.
We wanted Clip's outro, not the regular outro.